Yes, everybody, what's going on? My name is Stephen Howson. This is Abdul. This is United Review. Thank you guys for joining us. Remember, like the video. We're going for 500 likes today, and you guys can make it happen. So thanks for doing that. Subscribe if you're new. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through all of the in-stat data, and we're going to look at how the game actually played out. We're going to talk about what our expectations was before the game. Did it play out like that? All that kind of stuff. And if you want to know more about Instat, and you would like to get hold of Instat, then what you've got to do is you've got to hit the description below, and then you can come and find it. Do you want to switch us onto the correct screen, please, our Cameron? Thank you. There we go. No, it's not the right one. And there we go. Thank you very much. Right, so let's talk about what is your expectations before the game.
I was slightly confident because I thought like you said as well, we're coming up against another direct side. Now the difference is the other one was a lower team. They weren't playing at the same quality. I mean, Watford, not only are they direct, they press so high up the pitch, and we've seen that against Spurs in the second half. When they brought back the game, they were losing that game.
It's only Watford now. Yeah. That's what it is. It's only Watford now because we beat them. But before the game, they played better against Spurs than we did, better against Burnley, and better against Bruyne.
I said before the game, I said this last week actually, it wasn't just before we played them. They've been the most convincing side in the league, and it's nothing outrageous to say because I've watched every Watford game up to now. It just happens that I was watching them, and they just seem the most comfortable side in the league. They didn't have any trouble breaking teams down, and on top of that, they pressed the sides like Spurs further up the pitch. They found goals, mostly through crossing and so on, but they do have a bit of quality. Gray's finally coming into it. Troy Deeney can offer you goals in the air or can get involved in the build-up. So they did look really, really good, and I think I was confident because of actually having the likes of maybe someone like Fellaini in there to cover Lindelof and Smalling, because I thought we're going to have similar problems that we would have faced against Burnley, similar concerns. And I was happy that Mourinho looked at the game plan again. And we were speaking about the worries of how he changes it later on, and hopefully he can adapt different systems. And Fellaini might be that player that plays 1 week and then he's out for 2 or 3 because he doesn't fit those game plans. Well,
we are going to talk about Fellaini's performance today. Let's kick it off on the correct foot. He was excellent today. And I thought he would be key to this today, because when you look and you actually analyse what Watford are good at and what they struggle with at times, then what they struggle with at times is set pieces. But they're also very good at set pieces. So I joked in my preview that this game was almost going to be like a championship level game where it's probably going to be decided on set pieces. And my prediction at 2-2, man, I was this close to having so much right this weekend. I got the starting 11 absolutely bang on, because I just tried to put myself in Jose's shoes after watching Watford. I said set pieces was going to be the thing, and I thought 2-2, because to be honest, I still don't have confidence in us at the moment. United don't give me the confidence at the moment. But what I will say is Fellaini performed on the edge of our box, and he performed on the edge of their box, and he did everything he was asked.
I think he showed that in the end. He made 2 brilliant tackles in the last 5-10 minutes, and that's something I always have a problem with Fellaini, is the worry of him having the legs to come out and set the ball. The only problem I did have with him, and that's the only problem really, is when he does seem to tackle and get the ball, he's too late on getting onto the second one, and that's the difference with the likes of Herrera and Matic and even Fred, because of the pace and how quick they get to the ball. As soon as they get that tackle, they're on the ball. I think Fellaini tackles and loses the ball too quick, but other than that, I thought he clean performance.
But that was the thing, is that today it was an ideal game, as Burnley was. But I don't want people to be sitting there thinking Fellaini for Ballon d'Or. Fellaini should start every week for Manchester United, because he is a player that comes in with a tactical need attached to him. Burnley, perfect today, perfect. Against Wolves, and arguably against young boys, he's not the answer. And that's the issue, is that you have too many times he isn't the answer and he plays.
Exactly. That's we're talking about Sevilla, for example. You turn up against Sevilla. Even Fellaini at the time hadn't actually played many games before that, and he's sort of in and out of the team. And I think there was, with all the contract stuff that was going on after that Spurs game, when he apparently had an injury, we don't know, and came off after 10 minutes when it looked like Spurs could have bagged another 5 when he dropped into that midfield. He disappeared out the team, then came into that Sevilla game, and that's the worry. I think if Mourinho figures out the right player in that position, in my opinion, obviously Matic is out now, but in my opinion, when you get Matic back, I think Matic should start in that role against teams like Wolves, against teams like Fulham that are going to play You know, they got the likes of Neves,
intricate football
Coutinho.
players that are fast in that third. You're going to draw a foul out of someone like Fellaini. Ruben Neves would not be a fair fight against Fellaini. Let's have a look at the average positions of everybody. Then let's see where the formation came into it, because I thought going into it, you're looking a little bit like a 4-3-3. You're also potentially looking a little bit like 4-2-3-1. Sorry, a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-2 diamond. It could have been all sorts. Looking at that now, you can kind of see, yeah, all right, Fellaini and Matic kind of on the same line, kind of. You've got Pogba and Lingard there together, and you've got Lukaku and Sanchez kind of on the same line. Obviously, Sanchez has kicked it out to the left. You could make a case for that being 4-2-2. I think you could also make a case of that being 4-3-3, but Lingard's movement has dragged him back, made him a bit more central and pulled him back a line as well. But I'm glad. What I'm glad about is 6 and 7 are nowhere near each other again. Although I didn't think Sanchez had a great game. I thought Pogba's dictating a play was incredible today.
I thought because of the way the game went now, I was a bit critical of Sanchez when we were watching the game, but I thought the way the game went, it sort of kept Jesse Lingard and Sanchez out of what they usually do.
This isn't the game for them. This was the game for Fellaini, but by the same rule,
I think if you watch them off the ball as well, I think when they had to press, they did press. I think we wouldn't pull off a game against Watford in the form they've had if the likes of Jesse Lingard and Sanchez aren't up to it in terms of when to press, and there's certain things we might not catch in a game, and that's why Mourinho must have started them. You're not going to start about McTominay right wing and whoever else. We're not just going to start a bunch of like 6'4" lads in the midfield.
Some people think he thinks like that though. Some people actually do think Mourinho thinks like that.
You know what? I like the idea of bringing on certain players to see out a game. And I think if you ever in the future, for example, you get someone who's better than Matic in the side, and Matic has got the experience, I think that's the type of player that can come on and sort of see out a game. The likes of Herrera, I think, is the perfect man for that job to come on.
Because he's a shithouse as well.
Exactly. And he's got the intelligence of reading the game really well. He's really underrated, Herrera, in terms of doing that. And the good thing that I'm seeing now is I think some of these players might be made for European football more. And I honestly think Mourinho might see that if we go back to the Interside, you know, Stankovic, all those midfielders, Mata.
Well, he did rotate through a lot of midfielders.
He rotated because you have 1 week you got to play a different, you know, team in Serie A that are going to defend well. Then you got Barcelona in the week against a brilliant ball playing side. There's just different players with different game plans, and I was speaking to as well. I said 7 or 8 players is what you want starting week in, week out,
and then you bring your tactical need in.
And I think that's what Mourinho always. I think Mourinho's always seemed to do that. Not at United though, and that's what surprised me. If you look at his Chelsea side, he's got his starting 11. He only maybe used to change 1 or 2 players each game, and I think once you have that, that's a team that can challenge. And because of the amount of messing about he's had to do, I spoke about Lindelof and Smalling earlier as well. Smalling and Lindelof, I think it's always his go-to defence when it's not going well with any other of the pairings. Let's
have a look at Chris Smalling's. Let's have a look at the challenges, actually, because I think this is very interesting. Now, I'll pull up the stats down here. Unfortunately, I can't get it on the screen at the moment for you guys. We will figure out a way to get absolutely gangster and be able to pull those things on. Match report, there we go, this is the one I need. So this is the challenges, and you can see where there's a line is there was a lot of those challenges, and it shows who was challenging who for the most part, and where those challenges happened. Chris Smalling on Troy Deeney, there was 11 challenges, of which Smalling won 9 of those challenges. Deeney only won 2 of those challenges. I said it in my full-time Devils thing. Chris Smalling against physical attackers, he eats that shit up all day. He eats that shit up all day. Now, there's a quote from Jose, isn't there? What's the quote from Jose?
It's a bit of a funny one, actually. Let's get it up.
But I think he struggles against the more Aguero-style forward, someone that might play a ball around him. But when someone goes up hard against him, physically...
I always use Harry Kane as an example of that. I noticed that every visit Spurs used to have at Old Trafford, I'd focus on what Harry Kane was doing, and he never used to come into it up until he scored against us. So completely, not Smalling's blame, though, because it was Jones in the last game, but he almost enjoys playing against those physical players. I think Deeney isn't an easy player to deal with. We've seen that against Spurs. We've seen that against arguably the best centre-backs in the league, in Vertonghen and Alderweireld, and they really struggle to deal with him.
It caused them nightmares from set piece.
I've got the quote up. And,
before you get to that quote, we've got over 700 watching. I'm going for 500 likes. You guys can get 500 likes on there right now by just scrolling up a little bit, pressing like. Done. I'm not going to my view again then if we get 500. And once we get 500, I'm going to come to the questions from you guys as well. If the Patreon group are watching, you guys want to start a thread over in a Patreon group, I'll come to that and we'll check out some of those as soon as possible. What's the quote?
So this one's not actually about Smalling. The one we're going to get is about Lukaku. He says talking about Lukaku, tackle after a 70-metre run, making a slide tackle at right back position, says everything about him and saying everything you want from my team.
Bingo. Commitment.
If you watch what Lukaku does there, it's absolutely brilliant, and that's awareness showing from Lukaku and the intelligence that people don't give him. Lukaku was a striker further up the pitch.
Definitely trying to talk about Chris Smalling here while he's fucking waffling on about Lukaku. Sorry.
I couldn't get up the Smalling quote yet, but this one. I
can remember it.
Yeah.
I was teeing you up for your opportunity till you give it. Basically, what he says is, Jose said.
There it is.
There we go. We found it. The only thing I don't like about Chris in this moment is his haircut. I'll also throw in the fact that he's a vegan, but apart from that, yeah, happy days. So, can we have a look at Chris Smalling's average involvement, please? Because I think actually Smalling came a bit further up the pitch, and you got there. Obviously, we've got his involvement in the box, very high up the pitch, obviously, but he commanded it all the way up into it. That's really interesting. Contrast that with what you got with Lindelof. Have we got Lindelof's? We haven't. All right, no worries. Did we have Pogba's passes? Did we have his pass map? So Pogba, that wasn't as impressive as I expected it to be, actually. It's looking like he's knocking it back and divvying it back in there. I think we might have to dish out the key passes. We go into the key passes, I reckon. That might be in there. Or shots. It could come off that one as well. But yeah, keep liking the video, everybody. Is there anybody that you guys want to specifically see? Because I think... Who else would we want to talk about? Marouane Fellaini. Let's have a look at Fellaini's involvement.
I've got some stats here for Fellaini.
Look at that. Absolutely everywhere. So he's on the edge of our box, he's all over the halfway line, and then he's an absolute shield and a screen in front of our box, watching all those crosses coming in. That's mega.
10 ball recoveries in that game. That's the most on the pitch.
Yeah.
And I think what's so important about that is like sort of him coming into that role and knowing and understanding that defensive role more, because it's not somewhere that Fellaini, if you watch Fellaini at Everton, that's not his role at all. We've seen Fellaini actually start the season off a couple of seasons ago, Mourinho's first season, as that defensive mid. I said it the other week, and it worked out pretty well at the time because he's staying out of, getting involved with the play, and because he's not the best passer of the ball, he can't really string more than a 15-yard pass.
But look at this, man. This is
keeping it simple.
This is box to box. This is box to box.
That's what he wants.
He's even involved in stuff in our area.
Yeah.
And he's not making the same mistakes that he used to make.
I think he covered for Lindelof really well, I think Lindelof could have got caught out a few times, and arguably for their goal, but at the same time, I think Ashley Young, that's why I think Luke Shaw, defensive awareness as a left back, if we're not talking about a wing back, I think as a wing back, Ashley Young works a bit better because his understanding of going forward, and he loves cutting back onto his right foot and getting involved, but Luke Shaw, I think, is a perfect man to have.
We've got people in the comments asking for Jesse Lingard. We've also got people asking for Sanchez. Now, I thought both of those were quite poor. Have we got any of those? We've got Lingard. So, X's mean where you lost the ball or lost the challenge, and spots mean where you had a successful interaction. If you look at that, there's a lot of crosses there for Jesse Lingard. I think nothing really around the D or around the box. They kept him away a little bit there. A little bit of work here on the right-hand side, but by and large, I think you could tell even watching, couldn't you, that it wasn't Jesse's day today.
What I noticed about Alexis Sanchez and Jesse Lingard, like I said, were the reason they were out of the game. If we look at where the passes that Pogba was finding outside to Ashley Young.
It was that ball with the outside of his foot, wasn't it, to Sanchez? I think it was Sanchez.
Disgusting.
Come on, son. Come on, son. It's a family show.
It lands perfectly on Sanchez's feet, and I just going back to that, I think Matic was sort of his safe guy, so if you can't find that long pass, he'd always go back to Matic, and
you always need a player to keep it simple.
Exactly.
You always need a player to keep it simple.
But I think the reason Jesse Lingard and Sanchez were out of that because they weren't receiving those passes, but because I think their job was actually to keep. If we look at it more, I think deeply, I think it was to keep sort of Janmat and Halabas at bay. Because
let's have a look at Sanchez's. Sanchez is very similar to Lingard, actually.
Yeah.
So as you can see, he's involved a little bit more in the box, a little bit higher up on the left-hand side, but there's still a lot of unsuccessful actions. Not so much in our half, keeping it simple, but because he's a player that is inherently about risk. Now, people get this wrong about players. Do you know who gives the ball away the most in the Premier League? Kevin De Bruyne.
Probably Hazard, De Bruyne.
It's De Bruyne, it's then Hazard. Joe gives it most away in the world. Messi, right? So you can't just be like, he gives the ball away a lot, he's obviously shit. It's not about that. It's these are the players that are at the very tip of the spear trying to create things. And when you've got a player trying, I'm not excusing Sanchez because he wasn't good today, but I'm saying by and large, you can't just look at the unsuccessful actions of a player and go, he loses the ball too much, because, like I said, Messi, De Bruyne, Hazard, they're three players that lose the ball tons, and the reason that they're losing the ball tons is because, one, they get crowded out quite often because they're a threat, and two, that they're the ones that are trying to make things happen in on the edge of the box. I still think we'd be better without him. I still think United could find a formation that suits other players.
I mean, Anthony Martial or Marcus Rashford could suit. The thing is, I think when he took Jesse Lingard on, I didn't think it was the right move, just because of how much was Sanchez going to offer. I think as that change was coming on, and I was screaming at Sanchez, I was like, on the TV, I was like, why are you walking? Because everything was going on around him. Lukaku was tracking back and he was just walking. And as soon as he seen Martial come up with a board about to go up and Mourinho speaking to him, Sanchez running back, trying to get the ball. That shouldn't be the reason that you're going to put in that effort to get the ball, and that was a bit disappointing.
Mr. ASG in the comments here says it was an awful performance. Let's be honest. I really don't think it was an awful performance, mate. I think if you watch Watford, I said to you, this is going to be a championship game. It's going to be direct. It's going to be settled on set pieces. I don't know how you could think that you was just going to turn up and knock it around like 1970 Brazil against a team that's not going to allow you to do that.
Their gameplay was using the fullbacks so well. And we didn't really see them involved in the game. Every other side, including Spurs, who beat us 3-0, all right, and then we've seen them against Liverpool today as well. Even that side struggled against dealing with the fullbacks coming at them, Janma and Hoblas. So they really struggled.
800 watching, 200 likes. Get liking the video.
So like I said, it was just a tactical sort of game, and I think you got to look deeper than just 2-1 against Watford, because right now they've won the first 4 games of the season, and one of them was against a side like Spurs.
Yep. We had 30 plus chances when Shaw played. Today we were back to 10. I don't think you can just immediately pin that on Luke Shaw or not Luke Shaw. I think today was always going to be tight, and it was always going to be set pieces that settled it. If you look at the way that therefore 4-2-2 sets up, it sets up to just deny you space in the middle, and they force you wide knowing that you're going to go wide, but they double up in the wide areas. That's how they play. So they sort of try and lead you into a trap in the fullback areas, trying to overlap, but they defend very well in those areas. If you look at how many, I don't think we actually have the ability to show you where the crosses came from. I don't think we do. In 2 minutes we might have it, okay. But they force you backwards. If I can have a look at where Ashley Young was put in, direction of passes, Ashley Young. Now, in the first half, he was actually getting quite far on. Let's get those when you get a minute. Let's look at Ashley Young's direction of passes. And I think that'll tell you everything that you need to know.
There's that Ashley Young does that I was speaking to you about earlier.
The back poster?
The one, no, not that one. I'll show you that one. The one over the top, down the line, to no one.
It's on there. It's on there. He's done that a couple of times.
I've been noticing that over the last 3 seasons now. Every time he's playing in that role, and it's really frustrating. All
right, let's have a look then. So we've got first half and we've got second half here for Ashley Young's passes. Now, first half is on Abdul's side. Second half is on my side. The ball that Abdul was talking about is the one on my side. The 2 little white ones that didn't happen. Basically from like roughly the edge of our box towards the halfway line, nobody there. But if you look at the first half and the second half, he's hitting from about here. He's not getting to the byline. Yeah. He's hitting from about here, and that's because they'll have their fullback and probably the wide midfielder blocking him and trying to force him on the inside, because that's what they do. They set up narrow and then they spread out wider as you come in towards their final third. And because they spread out wider into the final third, they force your crosses to come from deeper and deeper and deeper. I don't even think there's any point looking at Valencia's. I'd be very shocked if he even flung one in, to be honest. But you can see from Ashley Young's angle there, he's basically got nothing in the final third. He's all sort of in that middle third a little bit. So
I think that's what didn't help Sanchez and Jesse Lingard. There was one point where Jesse Lingard got the ball on the right a couple of times actually, and I looked down the right where the TV angle was, and it was absolutely empty, and you're waiting for that run from Valencia. And now that goes back to the point where I'm not actually blaming Valencia or Young in this situation. I think it's just because of the fact we are playing a team that if you give the ball away further up the pitch, they will hit you with their fullbacks. Those fullbacks that are just waiting to receive the ball. Those fullbacks are creating some of the most chances. I mean, in the Premier League
I think we've got
right now,
Tony Valencia here.
Nothing.
Wow.
I mean, the ball he did play across to Lukaku in the end was awful. Almost robbed him off a goal there. It's almost he has to put himself in a certain angle, otherwise the ball, he's like, I can't pass it.
He's not even attempted. I mean, Ashley Young at least getting further forward, but just look at these short, safe. That's what we're going to call them. Safe balls. Just safe balls. That is it. See, this is so disappointing. This is so disappointing. You can even see some there on the first half side, on Abdul's side, where he's just on the other side of the halfway line and he sent it all the way back, probably to a 6, possibly a centre half, and you're like, and that is a crossfield ball backwards.
I mean, with Ashley
that's
Young,
so safe.
I think with Ashley Young, is any manager, any opponent you're going to come up against, he's going to tell his players, you got to push him on that right foot, because as soon as he's trying to turn on that right foot looking for a pass, that's a moment there to pressure him. And
I'd push him on his left. I'd show him outside every time.
On his left, left foot, complete opposite. I mean, every time he cuts in on his right foot, push him on his left.
Now, when we have games like this, get rid of that if you want. When we have games like this and you see United putting in a good tactical performance, they've identified strengths, they've identified weaknesses, they've gone out there, they've executed, and they've come away with 3 points. Not happened a lot this season, let's not kid ourselves. But when United go and do that, then you believe in this manager and you believe in this team. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that a win against Watford's got me saying anything else apart from that it was a win against Watford. The issue I think that we have is when we can't identify threats. Like, I think Brighton. Yeah. You can't. You go. They're going to be really tight and hard to break down. And what they're going to offer us, to be honest, not a lot. They're not going to offer us a hell of a lot. And then you look at them and you go, all right, well, I think that's where Jose comes unstuck. I think he needs probably to be the underdog. I think he probably thrives more on being an underdog, and I think he potentially struggles a little bit with having the expectation of being someone that's going to turn up and dominate.
Game plans come in, and like I said, if you are going to play Fellaini against young boys or Wolves or teams that are going to play well with the ball, maybe young boys, we don't really know anything about them. If they're a team that are going to be direct and hit us in the box and that's their way, they got a big man in there.
I'm going to be spending most of tomorrow watching them, actually.
So maybe Fellaini's the guy for that game, but unless they're not going to do that, I think you got to bring in someone like Herrera. Actually, I think that's what Mourinho needs to understand. I think looking at what game suits certain players and having that solid 8, I think once you get the right rotation between then you can look at title challenges, then you can look at making cup runs, European runs, and I think unless you get that solid 8, like I said, then you got those 3 players that you can rotate around there in case of an injury or anything. Until you get that sorted, I don't think you're going to challenge for anything, unfortunately. Right,
come on, get liking the video, and we're going to start coming to your questions in a very short time, so give us your questions. Kieran says, I think all the players are down on confidence or scared of Mourinho. Well, some probably are, I think that's probably fair, but I think if you think about some of the players that have come out and spoke, Lukaku being one, Luke Shaw being another, I don't think that can be the case. This stat came out today. Lukaku scored his 20th Premier League goal for United. He's done it in less than 1 in 2. He's done it in 39 matches. Only 3 players have done it faster. Ruud van Nistelrooy, RVP and York. RVP actually did it in 26 games, which is frightening. York did it in about 32, or RVP 32 and the other one 34. 39 goals, which means he's faster than Rooney. He's faster than Ronaldo. He's faster than Andy Cole, Teddy Sheringham, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Bebe.
Everyone. Berbatov.
Berbatov, I don't even know if he got 30 goals for us, but yeah.
Definitely did. Wait, in one season, you mean?
Well, no, yeah, he wouldn't have got.
Over the...
Yeah, he would have got, yeah. Did he get 30 goals? League goals? He wasn't there that long.
I don't think so.
League goals alone? I don't think he was there that long, so... Well done on Big Ron. And Pogba, 100th game for United. That's gone fast, hasn't it? That has gone by fast. Very poor second half. It wasn't as good as the first half. Great tactics, but still very slow and lethargic. I think that... I don't want to say it was that slow, actually. There was some real good incisive breakaways. Yeah. I thought we was playing football into the final third on the counter way better than any time we have done this season.
We just didn't make good use of it, like when Valencia got that ball out wide. We just didn't have any good use of the ball in those situations. I think the other point, and I fall into that problem as well, where I look at our team and I go, oh, it's a bit too slow. And I think in certain situations, you just got to look at the opposition, the way they play. That's why we're going to have an extra man like Fellaini, who's going to slow things down, yes, when he's trying to get to a tackle or, he's trying to play it out. But the reason he's in there is because you got to cover for the threat they're going to bring down the wings and from the fullbacks and so on. It's sort of, you have one problem, but you also cover another. And I think, like I said, it's just about getting a consistent 11 and rotating in between that. I think that helps out a lot. Because right at the end of that game, if you feel like we don't have the right energy in there, you're going to bring Fred on. You know what your tools are going to be. You know what can get you out of trouble in the end. If you want to put Fellaini there in the last 10 minutes, if you want to start him, it all goes back to that really.
I'm just seeing if we can. Let's get Pogba's passes on, please. No, his direction of passes. Oh no, he's got to do a bit of work. He's up against it now, he's flapping. Everyone's watching him. Right, we'll hit you guys up in the questions. We need a world-class signing in January, but who? Well, I still think we need a centre-half. As good as you think Smalling was today, and obviously we've still got Bay, I still think you need someone who's a bit of a leader that can come in. What's our best starting squad, says Ben Allen. We was joking about this earlier, weren't we? Like, who are we playing? Who are we playing?
1 week you can play Anthony Martial and he'll get everything done for you. He'll be the right man. 1 week Sanchez is your man.
Berbatov scored 48 in the league. Wow. I only thought he was here 5 minutes. Didn't feel like he was there very long.
That's what he was here from 2008 to 2012. So I would have thought he was there.
Yeah, of course.
One of them being a hat trick, actually 3 of them being a hat trick.
Yeah.
Against Liverpool. Never forget that.
Not Fellaini's going to struggle against quick like mid. Yeah, we said that, didn't we, earlier on? Why can't Marshall fanboys talk about his crappy attitude? He didn't look great today, but you know what? He was always going to come on and sulk. Yeah. Even when he's in a good mood, he comes on and sulks. So you can't really say that he's got a bad attitude. Right, here we go. We've got Pogba's pass distribution here. Let's have a look at that. So as you can see, some absolutely banging balls into the wide areas. A lot to the left. So when it's shown us the average passes, and it had Pogba was knocking them back, bring that one back up, the one that you put on before. Because it puts them to Ashley Young, and it looks like they're going backwards. But when you put the actual one on, they're all going forwards, or at least sideways forwards, finding Ashley Young in space. There's some absolutely banging passes. The one in the first half there going into the box, magnificent. And there's a few straightforward ones as well. Spreading it around all over the place. That was more like the Paul Pogba I want to see. I think he could have been involved a little bit more defensively, but very happy with that today from Pogba.
Fellaini was there, and then you required someone to sort of create and also get involved. I liked his hold-up play in the middle as well. A lot of the time he loves to get the ball and sort of mess about with it, and that's what frustrates me. That he had 1 or 2 moments where right at the end he tried to step over, lost it. But I liked about when he held the ball up well, as soon as there's an option open for him and he knows it's the right option, he always got that pass today. And I think once Pogba gets in the flow of that in every game, I think he just becomes a better player, game by game.
Give us your questions. We are going to wrap it up. What I'm going to say to you is we've obviously got an incredibly busy schedule coming up. We are going to be doing a United review, giving you a tactical breakdown of what happened against Young Boys. We'll be doing it for the Valencia game. Not going to do it for the Derby game. I think we'll just have a night off for that one. But yeah, obviously we're going to be covering the league games as well. We've got a hell of a lot.
I think the next, you know what, like I wanted to mention
next 3 weeks is nuts.
I think I wanted to chat about the next 2 games and why I think as a United fan those are the games to look out for, because we were talking about how does Mourinho react on players, and is he just going to pick his favourites if they're not doing well, the likes of Sanchez in my opinion.
Obviously.
Is he going to keep them in the side? Is he going to do what's best for the team? It's all important. The next 2 games, I think that's where you see it. Like we said, is he going to bring a ball-playing midfielder in there other than Fellaini, then bring back Fellaini maybe for a team like Derby, where you want him to get dirty in there in the cup game.
But I think you could have outplay Derby with quality, to be honest.
Or you can even do that. But I think cup games, I think it's a pretty good break that we have that, because I think we're going to see the likes of Dalot come in, Bailly trying to get back into the side.
Pereira, Marshall. When you look at the outcasts FC that we could have, you could put Romero in net, give Dave the night off. Best second keeper in the world. Fullbacks, you're going to struggle. That might be the opportunity to bring somebody in like an absolute shock like an Ethan Laird.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the confidence boost that could you do in that? Laird is unbelievable. Another great game today, and shout out to Mason Greenwood today for scoring a hat-trick. And do you know what I liked? When he tweeted about it, he goes, "It's my first hat-trick of the season." I love that shit. Anyway, so you could see a massive surprise with someone like Laird. In reality, it's probably going to be Damian, more than likely, I would think. Delot maybe on the left, or you might see Young if he has gone with Shaw as his first choice. You might see Young to keep him ready. So you might see Ashley Young either left or right back. Centre half, you've still got Jones. You might see Rojo if he is fit after whatever happened last night. I don't think you'll be seeing Roshan or anyone just yet. In midfield, you've got Herrera, you've got Fellaini potentially, you've got Fred, you've got Pereira. You've got a good 4 to choose from. Excuse me. You could also play Pereira on the right. You've got Martial on the left. Rashford, if he's suspended, might play down the middle. You've got Juan Mata. You've got options. So I think he probably will go with a bit of a strong spine because he likes.
Martial's probably going to end up being the striker in that game, obviously with Rashford unfortunately being out for that, and then Lukaku. I thought usually in those cup games he does like getting Rashford and Martial in, and I'd like to see that more outside of the cup games, which was a bit unfortunate in the last couple of seasons. I think maybe that's a chance for someone like Chong to come in, because I think it's important for him to get into these cup games. Because
Chong's someone I really want to see.
I think physically,
but I think off the bench is the most we could hope for.
I wouldn't mind him coming off the bench. He doesn't have to start, but I think he has to sort of get ready for sort of a physical battle, and maybe if you come up against a championship side,
perfect.
You know,
with good players standing around you,
going to move the ball around you. So
and make good runs for you. I think that's key. Some people rate in today's performance in the comments, and I like the idea of that. So let's give us your ratings out of 10 in the comments. And if you're not doing that, like the pissing video. I'm not asking you again. And let's see what some of you guys are saying. Some thoughts, some comments, some man of the match shouts, some early thoughts for what's going to happen against Bruyne in the Champions League. We do also have the Youth League returning, which I am very interested about what's going to happen in the Youth League, because you've got this under-18s team which is fire at the moment, but you've also got the ability to pick Terrell Warren, Angel Gomez, Chong, Leo Connor. Mate, that's dirty.
Yeah, if you mix those two up, I mean, I've been watching a bit of the 18s for the first time in a long time in terms of like looking at academy and youth football, and I've absolutely enjoyed watching them. Mason Greenwood especially. I didn't get to catch today's game, not even the highlights, and
he could have had. There was a few times Elanga. He had 2 goals after 22 minutes or something like that, and then just towards the end of the first half, Elanga had 3 opportunities to slide him in for his hat trick, and was like, "Fuck you, I'm trying to score." And if he'd have slid one of those over, it might have ended up a major cricket score, but I think they equalised just from the stroke of half time and got back into the game a little bit. But it was a great game, and the 18s games are fun to watch at the moment. But I'm very excited about what they can do in the Youth League, because I think United really should put it on them. You know, I think and get in the mix.
Yeah, Youth Leagues. I think it's a good opportunity for our fans as well to watch some of the younger players. It's like a 3 p.m. kickoff or something, isn't it? On the same day as the Champions League. So if you get time, it's worth a watch.
Righty, we are going to wrap it up there, but make sure to go and check out Abdul's channel for some United analysis and other stuff as well. We've got some new content coming out this week. Probably, if we get it all ready in time, which is European Football Review, which is a bit of a roundup of what's going on, a bit of a cheat sheet, if you like, for what's going on around Europe, a preview of this week's Champions League games. Dave's going to be back with Statman Dave live on Tuesday and Wednesday, and obviously we're playing against Bruyne in the Champions League this Wednesday. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like the pissing video, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next one. Laters.